Hey everybody, and welcome to Tatter-a-fact here at the Girlz Ink studio in Las Vegas. And today I got my whole crew. I got my whole team, Michon, Stephanie, and Amy. Yeah. We were just talking about this, but I've had Michon on plenty, and I had you on, Steph. I had you and Amy on together, but the four of us, the entire team, have never been on the podcast at the same time. No.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So, and I think we got a really great topic today. Yeah, a topic that it can be frustrating, this topic, right?
You might hate me for what I say.
Be nice. Be nice. Because there's lots of really... because I think there's lots of really wonderful artists that are on their way to being wonderful, skilled, talented artists that are open, that are listening, that want to hear the advice, that will make changes, and they just need to hear it, and they absorb that. You know, they're eager. You know, they're a sponge. But then every now and then you cross paths with somebody that they don't want to hear this.
Nope.
And, you know, they can be rather rude, argumentative, and whatnot. And a lot of those people, they've been doing this like a year or 2 years. So we're going to talk about pink, like seeing pink. And I don't mean your pigment turned pink. I mean you're seeing pink either at the touch-up, 6-8 weeks, a couple months later when the client comes in for the touch-up, or seeing pink, maybe even 6 months or a year down the road. And why is that happening? And it happens it's not new. It's not new. This has been happening for probably since the beginning of PMU. I think when you're first learning PMU, 3 things. Either you're too heavy-handed and you're going too deep and you're getting gray, blurry, blue, and you have to learn to lighten up. Or you're going way too shallow and you're getting pink, or sometimes even purpley on some skin types. You'll see like lavender. Or you're one of the fucking lucky ones that didn't really get either. You just kind of got that depth right from the get-go, right? Maybe your design sucks, but your depth is...
Maybe you suck in other areas.
Yeah, maybe you suck in other areas. Well, you're always going to suck at, lots of different things when you first learn PMU. Because wouldn't you all agree, PMU is hard. What we decided to do with our lives, it's hard.
Okay, you gotta have some big balls to do what we do.
Yeah, because you're doing it to people's faces. It's really, really scary. Stephanie, just so our listeners know, you've been here, we just celebrated 3 years. Yeah. Very exciting. Congratulations. And Amy, you're about a year, right?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half?
Year and a half.
Yes. So, year and a half, total newbie. 3 years, still a newbie. I remember my mentor, Margie, and she was a hard ass. She was a great mentor. Love her. Super hard on me, drove me hard. And her philosophy was, takes 5 years. There's a 5-year learning curve, and that's if you're doing this full time. That's if you have multiple procedures a week, Teryn. And 5-year learning curve. Once you round that 5-year corner, then you've faced all the challenges. You've worked on all the different skin types. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. You found your way out of it. You figured out how to fix stuff and get through the challenges. And she was right. I don't know as if I agreed with her when I was only a year or two in. I was like, what? I got another 3 years before I'm good at this. But hindsight's always 20/20, and she's right. I think that's a good solid assessment. It's like 5 solid years.
I think after 5 years, something finally clicks.
Right? It's just something clicks.
Something clicks.
Exactly. And So anyway, so everybody has their own set of struggles, and those struggles vary from artist to artist. And right now, it's pink. We're seeing more pink than ever before, and there's a reason. A ton of us know why, and when we try to give advice and counsel, like I said, sometimes they're so appreciative, and sometimes they're super argumentative and can be an asshole. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. And, because it's hard to hear that it's your technique. No one wants to hear it's them, right? Sometimes that can be hard to take.
Yeah, but when you're blaming machines, pigments, and other things, and you're not blaming yourself, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense.
It's just a lack
Yeah.
of self-awareness, and how are you supposed to learn and grow if you're not acknowledging what the issue is? Like,
Right.
I've had a lot of issues that I know were me, 1,000%.
Right.
But that's how you learn how to fix them.
Exactly. Some people get really super defensive, and I think, like I said, we've always seen either, with newbies or people that are struggling, trying to find their way with depth, either gray, blue results or pink results. But we're seeing more pink than ever before. And the reason is because of what the newbies are being taught. This generation of new techs, what they're being taught in their initial training, and what they're being taught is go light-handed, go super shallow. You shouldn't see blood, no trauma.
It's not supposed to hurt.
Yeah, it's not supposed to hurt. If you see blood, trauma, or if it hurts, you're going too deep. They're being taught to only pigment the epidermis. And that's what's causing all this pink. And I'll explain why. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But let's go back 7 or 8 years. The safety measure being taught to new techs. The generation of techs 7 or 8 years ago, they weren't being taught only, pigment the epidermis, no blood, no trauma, light-handed, shallow. That's not what they were being taught. They were being taught proper depth, proper saturation, but they were being told by all the trainers, or a lot of the trainers, slam orange into every pigment, dump a bunch of orange modifier into every pigment for every client, and that will keep you from getting gray. And what happened with that advice?
It turned colors because there's too much orange.
Yeah, I think you might need to talk up. Does Michon need to speak up, Olivia?
No,
She's good?
Fine.
Yeah, the orange came back to bite everybody in the ass. Everything turned orange. And then we went through, a period where everybody was blaming the pigments.
Yeah.
And not just LI, but multiple pigment brands always get caught up in the blame. It's never one pigment line that gets singled out. Sometimes it feels like it's just LI being singled out because I'm a distributor for LI, and I'm protective and sensitive to LI, and
Me too.
and you too. Well, everybody that loves LI, uses LI, and gets great results, we all get a little put off when someone's really, trashing the brand because it's not performing with the particular techniques they're using. Because obviously LI has been around for 30 years, not because it doesn't perform, but because it's a high performance pigment line. And think of this, the thousands and thousands and thousands of artists using it all over the world. We're in over 70 countries now, daily, right? So in the grand scheme of things, it's a tiny small percentage of time that LI is not performing. And out of that small percentage of time, 90% of the time, it's technique, it's artist era, right? Sometimes it is the skin. Sometimes skin just sucks, and it is the skin. Let's
That's my mom.
yeah, your mom's song. I was so glad when you started here. Just handed your mom off to you. Here's your mom. Enjoy.
Skin sucks.
Sometimes not everybody's a good candidate. Not everybody's skin tattoos well. You know, I mean, there's going to be skin types that are challenging, but you know, in 2 or 3 appointments, yeah, you can get the pigment to all heal in nice and smooth and buttery. I just have come to the conclusion not everybody is a good candidate
That's why you give
for
them to me.
PMU. I do. I give all you girls my clients with challenging skin. Yeah, but I think that's what, if all you had was super easy skin,
What
you
would you
wouldn't
learn?
develop. You wouldn't learn and you wouldn't develop as an artist. So it's really important to take on those challenging skin types and find your way through them to good healed results. I had to do it for many, many years, and everybody should. But, you know, there's a small percentage where I really do think they're not a good candidate. You know, just because they have challenging skin doesn't mean they're not a good candidate, you know. But sometimes you do run into people, they're not a good candidate.
Yeah, they just don't take pigment. They don't follow aftercare. They're just not good.
Yeah,
not good
they're-
clients.
yeah.
So why have them waste their money?
Right. You know, and for some reason they just don't accept pigment or skin, like, or pushes it out during the healing process. You know, it's always disappointing. I think, you know, no one wants, you know, awesome results for their clients more than the artist. I think even more than the client, us
Right.
artists want, you know, awesome results, and when we don't get them, we're really disappointed in ourselves.
I'm probably more disappointed than my clients are if that ever
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why didn't that heal?
Well, it's
right?
embarrassing, you know, it's embarrassing, and, you know, you just hate it, but it's beyond, sometimes it's just beyond our control. For sure. So let's get back to pink skin. And so why this pink skin is happening. So we know what the new generation of tech is being taught. They're being taught to, you know, go really shallow. So when you're only implanting pigment in the epidermis, and they're using either singles or 3 liners, and they're using those needles on all clients, every single skin type, even skin types, they should not be using them on.
Yeah.
Like clients with thick skin, big pores, oily, sun damage, thin, delicate, fragile skin. Small needles, especially that single, causes way more trauma than the big needles. And that's needle science. That's a scientific fact. Yet the new generation, that's all they're being taught is the single needle or 3 liner. They're not going deep enough. They're going very shallow, only the epidermis, and they're taking 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours.
What I've seen that they've been doing, you know how, you know, our needle, our float comes out, a lot more than other people's, and we ride the tips of our needles.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of artists, they only put their needle out so much, and it's like they're almost riding the tube because it only comes out that far.
Yeah, and the reason they do that is so they don't have to learn depth.
Yeah.
It's like training wheels. And, you know, in you girls, I float your needle. I mean needle float, for those that don't know, mean extending your needle out 3 or 4 millimeters. And so we're just, you know, we're just riding off the tip of our needle. But you're right, they ride the tube. That's what we call it in body tattooing. So they don't even have to learn depth. They're not even aware or conscious. They don't develop the vibration, the feel of depth. They don't develop any of that.
Never learn the sweet spot.
They never learn the sweet spot, and they just shove that needle into the skin until the cartridge tip stops it. And it puts artists at such a disadvantage. But that's another safety measure that trainers do. And I would never do that to a student. That puts you at a disadvantage. I'm going to start you out right. And hopefully I keep you from going too deep. I always tell you girls, I'd rather you go too shallow, it all falls out,
Right.
and you end up with pink skin, than you go too deep. I actually tattoo you guys and make you tattoo yourselves. Watch the wound heal. And I know you got a little story about that, Amy. So, and we'll segue into that in a minute. So if you're only saturating the epidermis, you're not going deep enough. You're only saturating the epidermis. All that pigment falls out during the healing process or within a month or 2. And now what you see is not pink pigment. The pigment fell out of the skin. Pigment's gone. because you only put it in the epidermis. What you're seeing is scar tissue. When that scab falls off, when all scabs fall off, there's pink, tender, wounded scar tissue skin. On a lot of people, it's pink. On some people, it's a little more orangey. On some
Sometimes it's
people,
shiny.
it's more lavender. On some people, it's shiny. And the medical community, dermatologists, doctors will tell you, on average, that can last 6 to 12 months, sometimes longer. And on some people, it will never go away completely. So if all your pigment falls out, because you're only putting pigment in the epidermal layer, you're not seeing pink pigment. You're seeing that tender, wounded skin, scar tissue. That's what you're seeing. Yet they think the pigment turned pink. And that's not what happened. Not at all. So the other thing that happens, let's say they are going proper depth, because this is the other issue. Okay, you got your depth now. You figured it out. All your shit's fallen out, client after client after client. So now you're pressing a little bit harder. Now you're going a little bit deeper, but you're still not saturating enough. They're so afraid of getting too solid, too dark. So they're only lightly saturating it. They want it to look only as dark as they want it to heal, right? And we all know it needs to look 15, 20% darker when you're done. It has to look a little too solid and a little too dark.
And most clients, when I go super soft and, I don't heavy saturate, what do? They come back and they want it darker.
They want them darker.
Always want it darker.
They always want darker. I know. Always. I just wrote that in on the Girlz Ink board today in a reply. But yeah, so maybe they're going deep enough and they're getting they're saturating a little bit, but not nearly enough because they're afraid of a too solid look. And then what happens? Most of the pigment falls out because you lose a percentage of the pigment during the healing process with the scab. And so you still see pink because the pink wounded skin is showing through the weak saturation. The pigment's too weak. There's not enough in there. Pigment, when you saturate enough, when that client heals, you do not see pink skin. That pigment acts as a wool blanket, coverage. We never see the pink wounded skin. When do we see the pink wounded skin, Michon? Removal, when we're doing removal.
Yeah.
And it's not the saline. I've had to explain this, in my class. It's not, saline doesn't cause it. It's because we're removing pigment. So I look at us as not just face fixers, but revealers. We're revealing.
I see all sorts of stuff.
We see all sorts of stuff once that pigment removes. You see all kinds of colors and different things, and that is scar tissue because we're not fixing good work.
Yeah.
We're fixing horrible work. People usually gone too deep, overwork the skin and
Well, it's like when I tattooed Stephanie. She has super, super, super sensitive skin. I tattooed her with sage, very cool color. Tattooed her, and she's like, Michon, you tattooed my eyebrows red. And I was like, no, I did not.
I had everyone questioning you.
Yeah, everybody was questioning me, and I was like, hello, I know what your skin did. I know how it's gonna heal. I didn't tattoo them red. A month later?
Yeah.
A month later, perfect. Redness went away,
They
pinkness
were
went
the
away.
exact same color as my brow hair.
yeah.
Skin takes time to heal.
Some longer than others.
Yeah. And imagine if you're, and this isn't knocking the single needle because I don't knock the single needle. There is a place for the single needle, right? But but the single needle causes more damage. That's why there's certain skin types on fragile skin, sensitive skin, thick, oily. There's certain skin types you should not be using the single needle or even 3 liners. You should be into bigger needles like 5, 7, 8 shaders. That's the better needle choice for that particular skin type. But imagine these new techs with a single needle. Single needles implant and saturate a nano amount of pigment, a tiny minute dot of pigment, and then they're in there just scratching the surface over and over and over for 3 hours.
Surface scratchers.
They're surface scratchers, and they're causing a big wound, and they're not getting pigment in the skin. I see people not dipping enough,
And then they're getting pink.
and then they're getting pink.
That's why, guys.
Yeah, that is why. But you use the single needle, Michon.
I do.
You love the single needle. You're welcome.
I'm good at it.
You are.
You are really good at it.
You're really good at it, but you use LI. You use Aqua all the time.
I use Aqua, I use Loaded, I use it all.
Yeah, and you're strategic on when you use Aqua and when you use Loaded.
Yes.
Because we're strategic face tattooers in here. We don't just use one needle for, it's not like one needle fits all, or one type of pigment fits all, or, one stretch fits all. You have to be
Everything is
versatile.
customized.
Everything's customized for that skin that's lying before you in that moment.
Yeah.
And then you might have to switch things up for the next client and the next client and the next client. So you're very strategic, like I am. We're manic thinkers, and we're very strategic on, our tools and our pigments and whatnot. But you use that single needle, you use Aqua, and you get fucking beautiful pixels, because there's a misconception, and we saw some of these comments on Facebook, that, well, if you use Aqua or iron oxides, you can't get pixels. Aqua doesn't implant. Iron oxides don't implant. And I'm like, but there's thousands of artists all over the world using single needle that are getting beautiful pixels with iron oxides and LI. They're getting awesome healed results. Their work is lasting 2 years. And you're one of them. We see your work all the time, and we see your healed results all the time. And you are rare. That you are a rare breed. You are a single needle user that posts and share your healed results. Let's clarify that. Your 1 session healed results, and they are awesome.
Yeah.
And most people using single needle do not show.
Goals.
Yep, goals, but they don't show their healed results. They just show the fresh. So let's get your take on that, because I know that comment bothered you.
It really bothered me. I was quite angry, and I had to turn off social media. I was just really upset by that, because I use LI. I've been using LI for as long as I've been with you, for 8 years, and I've never had a problem. Why fix something that's not broken?
Yeah.
And I do get these beautiful pixels, and it's because of my technique. It's not because the pigment or this or that. No, you never blame your pigment, your tools. You're either blaming yourself or the client.
Yourself or the client. Exactly.
That's what it is.
Well, we even get some people that, I'm just going to say, like the Zion. The Zion is an awesome machine. Your favorite machine, Stephanie. We sell a lot of them. I did my last eyeliner class. I did one of the best eyeliners I've done in years with the Zion, and the Zion is a great machine. But you'll get people that will call us and say, I want my money back. The Zion doesn't implant pigment, or they'll say that about the Rook or the Valhalla. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course it implants color. Or they'll blame the needle. The Da Vinci doesn't implant color. Well,
what are you doing?
Yeah, right.
What? Yeah, exactly. The Da Vinci's are one of the best needles out there. It's like one of my favorites. Of course they implant color. Of course they do. Of course these machines implant color. Of course LI heals in the skin. Of course LI does not heal pink. Other iron oxide brands out there don't heal pink. It's these techniques that are being taught to this generation of artists, and it makes me sad for the artists. Sometimes, yes, I do get upset with individual people on how they respond. And I don't like trash talkers. I take offense when someone's struggling with a pigment line, a machine. I don't care what pigment line it is, whether it's LI, Permablend, Tina Davies, Everlasting. I don't care. I know all those people that own those brands. I know a lot of distributors that I'm very good friend with that make their living off distributing those brands. I don't care what brand it is. Maybe I get a little extra sensitive when it's LI, but I take offense when someone is not getting the results they want with a particular brand, and then they start trash talking the brand all over the Facebook boards. That is offensive to a lot of people, and just everyday artists. You guys see it, you get offended. I get a ton of DMs on, every time someone trash talks. It's not very becoming, and there's really no need of it at all. If a line is, and I'm not saying LI is the line for everybody. LI is not a perfect line. A perfect pigment line does not exist.
Say it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I've always, been really honest and transparent about that. And if LI doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. And it certainly doesn't work for some people. It's not some people's preferred choice, and that is okay. You have to find your secret sauce, the pigment line that works for you, the machine that works for you. But if a pigment brand or a machine isn't working for you, don't trash talk that particular brand or that particular machine.
Yeah, stop blaming everything else and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, well, it's not very classy, it's not very graceful, and it's very unkind. And I don't think people consider on how many hundreds or thousands of people see it and feel the same way. They might not be replying and responding, but they see it. And most people...
I'm not responding because I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah. So if a particular brand isn't working for you, move on. Move on. Because for thousands and thousands upon thousands of others all over the world, that particular brand of pigments or that particular machine, right, is like awesome, giving those artists awesome results. So, move on and find something that does work for you, right?
Yeah, and start posting healed photos.
Yeah. So why do you think, Michon, you get awesome healed in color with LI Aqua on your first session with a single needle, and why you get pixels? Like what are you doing?
One, I know my sweet spot.
So
Two,
you know your depth.
I know my depth. Two,
and how did you come to your depth? Just because we have a lot of newbies that listen to us. Like, what advice?
The only thing I can tell you, I can't really teach you depth. It's just it's a certain vibration in the skin where you just know you're there. You just know it. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to describe that?
No, there's no way to describe it. But when we do classes, I will tattoo them, like on the inside of their arm or their leg, with a dry needle, no pigment, and then I'll have them tattoo the spot right next to it, and it needs to feel how it felt when I tattooed, and that gives them a little bit of a reference point on how it should feel on themselves, and then how hard they have to push their machine. That's how
when I'm teaching the girls, like I'll get on their client first and I'll tattoo them a little bit, and I even have them kind of like touch my hand to feel the vibration, or even like my stretch hand to feel the vibration, and then I'll ask the client, when they tattoo you, I want them to feel just like me.
Yeah.
If they feel just like me, then they're good.
Exactly.
And if they don't, tell me.
Yeah. We make our models work.
Yeah, and usually, like, we've been doing this for so long, I can hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it.
I can hear when they're either going too deep or too shallow.
Right. So your depth is on point.
Yes.
And your saturation.
Yeah, I saturate a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And it's not necessarily 3 layers, 4 layers. You have trained your eye so you can see the pigment in the skin, and you can see it building and saturating, and when you've got it saturated enough. And so it needs to be about 15 to 20% darker. It needs to look like you've implanted 15 or 20% too much pigment.
Yeah.
So when the client stands up, they're like, ooh, God, those are dark. Those are going to lighten.
Well, I even ask my clients, I'm like, how dark do you want it? Do you want it really soft and subtle, or do you want it like, bam, I just got eyebrows?
Yeah.
And, depending on what they say, that's how much saturation I'll put in.
Right.
So if they want very soft, very subtle, that's fine. I'll do less saturation.
Exactly.
But they're going to come back and want more.
But you know, like some of these people complaining about the pink, you know, I see a couple of their pictures on Facebook and I'll pull them up and zoom up and you can see it's all sheer.
Yeah.
There's no pigment in there. They think there's enough pigment in there, and all that pigment, that little bit of pigment they got in the skin, they think it's all going to stay and show up in a week, and it's not. It's all going to scab out.
See,
You've
in
got
that,
a layer and
it's so sheer, like 50 or more % of it falls out, if not completely.
exactly.
And with ours, whether it be powder brow or my single needle ombre brow, I only want 20 to 30% to fall out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. And you were getting pink, right, Stephanie?
Yeah, I was for probably my first year. I was not the whole brow, but
Your bulbs.
My bulbs especially, I was getting a lot of pink.
Well, because you were kind of doing circles, right? From and you were kind of trying to do a transition brow, like
Yeah.
more color in the tail, rounding the arch
Right.
into the bulb, and then when you got into the bulb, did you kind of switch from circles to whip shading, or did you?
Now I do a little bit of whip shading when I'm doing that, but at first I was just doing circles, but I think I would freak out. Like I was so afraid I wasn't going to have that transition or that it wasn't going to heal lighter in the bulb. So I think I would just panic and speed up my hand movements way too much and then not saturate it enough. And it would come back and I'd be like, where'd the front of the brow go?
Yeah, they were pink or they were they were pink or they were orange, and I'm sure Michon gave you shit.
Oh yeah, you did too.
Yeah, well,
Rightfully so.
Yeah, but that's that's
Did I
How
part
I
of,
learned.
But did I tell you it was going to happen when they left?
but that's part of being
Probably.
yeah, it's part of being a team, being part of a team. But you've done really good. You've come a long way.
I feel like I'm just now like things are starting to click with brows. Still got a way to go on my eyeliner, but with brows I feel like I'm seeing things a lot more.
So things are starting to finally click, and you're 3 years in.
Yep.
And you're surrounded, with me and Michon. You got artists in here that, we're good at what we do.
Right.
And we're on your butt and critiquing you and helping you, and still your struggle was real. You went through your own struggles that Michon and I kind of couldn't really fix for you.
right.
We can give you advice. We can only bring you so far.
Right. You can't force me to do things that I'm not understanding. And that's something that I had to figure out on my own, I think.
Right.
And now that I have, it's a whole new game.
Yeah, it's a whole new game. And then Amy, with you, did you're about a year and a half in. Did you struggle with pink or orange brows at first, or did you tend to be heavy-handed? And
One time I was a little heavy-handed, and Hild result came back a little bit ashy.
Yeah.
And when I noticed that, I think I kind of backed off, and then maybe I was a little bit shallow, because then I got a couple Hild results that were pink, and I could tell that I was going light. Like I knew, because I hear it over and over again with Michon. So I was like, oh man, I got a little light on her. So then we had to come in and do a touch up, and then they came back better. But it is a struggle. You got to figure it out. But I think also, like Michon said, taking responsibility is huge. Like there's no way that could happen here though. Like I have to take accountability, because I have and all of you are like,
Don't
oh no,
worry, I'll
like
make
this.
sure you know.
But I'm so grateful for that. Like there's no way I would try to do this.
Well,
by
we don't let
myself.
you guys get away with anything.
No.
Well, and you don't want to get away with anything.
I want to get
wanna
better. I
Be,
wanna
yeah,
be
you want to
good.
be
I
a
wanna be
badass.
great. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. I get that.
I like when they feel confident. They're like, that's going to be good. And I'm like, that's going to fall out.
And can I also add something about Michon's single needle? These women will come in for their touch up, and I'll be doing something, and then all of a sudden she's in my room. I'm like, oh, I thought you had a touch up. And she's like, oh, she didn't need a touch up. I'm like, well, look at you.
Yeah.
Like, look at you go. And I see them, like even Ari, I think she's only had like one session, and hers were like bomb right away. I'm like, oh my God, they look so good.
Yeah, I have a very good colleague, and who's really good, really, really, really good, and she came in and did one of the girls here, single needle brow, powder brow, and this girl's good, and all fell out. Came back about 3 months later, did it again, all fell out. Michon, you had to step in. You did it.
They look amazing.
They look amazing.
Right.
And yes, and this is something I've given this, I poke at this girl a little bit because she's my friend, and about getting on bigger needles when the skin demands it.
Absolutely.
Getting out of that box, that rut of single needle, because I want to do as little touch up as possible. When you have no touch up or just a little touch up, to me, it's like it's like what do I want to call it? It's almost like a reward. It's like a pat on the back. Like,
You're like, yes.
You did good. Like, yes, you nailed it. You nailed your saturation. Your depth was super even throughout the entire brow. Your stretch must have been on point. It's like all the stars aligned, and you're really proud of yourself, and when I have a lot of touch up to do, well, of course, it's always the skin. But sometimes,
I feel you.
Yeah, but sometimes we do have touch-up work to do, right? And it's usually going to be on the oily, challenging skin types. But, skin types that are normal and take pigment well, we have very little to no touch-up work, which leaves room in your book for more appointments and, more income. I mean, I can't imagine having your book inundated with touch-up work, and you have to do touch-ups 2 or 3 times, and I know that's happening to a lot of techs because
And a lot of techs don't charge for the touch-ups, so
they
they're
don't
working
charge
for
for
free.
the touch-ups. No, for free.
I'm
No.
not working for free.
No, we get and then Amy, when I tattooed you, teaching you depth, we did your leg.
Yes.
I have a picture of it
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
I think I posted on Instagram quite a while back. And so share what you noticed with that. And there was no pigment on the needle. It was a dry needle.
That's right. So you guys had said with depth, like we tell you so much, but it's something you kind of have to learn on your own. We can only teach you so much. You have to kind of figure it out. So, okay, you're going to tattoo your leg. And when you tattooed my leg, I tattooed a separate spot and it was all red. And I'm like, man, why is it so red? You're like, well, what do you think it looks like underneath your eyebrow and underneath your body tattoos? It's the skin has trauma, so it's red. But the pigment that we apply to the needle and do the brows with, it covers up that redness. So that's why you have to implant that pigment at a proper depth so the redness is covered up and it's not there. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't know any of this. I'd never been tattooed with no ink or no pigment before. So it was kind of a mind-blowing thing for me. And I'm like, man, I don't want girls coming in here with pink or red eyebrows. What a horrible thing to wake up to.
Yeah. It can be pink. It can, like I said, it can be purple. It can be
orange.
It can be orange. I mean, it depends on their undertone. Everybody's scar tissue is a little bit different colors. I talk about this in depth on my color theory course. But I think, I would encourage, these young techs, and keep in mind too, this is another thing I wanted to point out, that a lot of this generation of techs, they're not full time. They're lash girls, they're beauty industry girls, and they're doing this very part time. And there's nothing wrong with coming from another industry at all. That's not my point. My point is that they're not in skin enough. I know I always say to you girls, when you're learning, and all my apprentices, I don't care if you have to discount them way down to 0. I'd rather you're in here on skin making 0 than you going 2 or 3 weeks with nothing, because you're not going to advance, evolve, and develop if you've got these big, huge gaps. And I think that's the other thing that's going on, is the PMU industry right now is way oversaturated. There's just, and so many people are complaining on the boards all over social media that they can't get a clientele, and, and they're super slow. And so I just think, this young generation of techs are being taught improper techniques.
Yeah.
So they don't get great results. But I'm here to tell you, so sorry, but not sorry. That's part of learning. That's part of the process.
Welcome to the haze.
Welcome to the haze. Welcome to PMU. That's part of learning the craft, and I think a lot of people don't see PMU as a craft. And this is a craft. that demands respect and demands your full attention and full-time hours, beyond full-time hours, if you want to develop. And you have to be prepared and ready and okay with making those mistakes in the beginning, you know, and get over those humps to get to where you need to be with, with your depth and your saturation.
If you never fail, how are you supposed to learn?
Right. And clients, do you think clients want to heal and see pink? Do you think clients want to have to come back every 6 months, every 10 months, every year?
I was just going to say that. I'm like, clients do not want to come back every 6 months or every year. And then if you're doing touch-ups every 6 months or every year, how much scar tissue and damage are you causing to that skin?
A ton.
I don't want to see my clients probably for 2-3 years. I don't want to see them.
Well, and we don't 2 or 3 years at all.
Come back later.
And that's normal for us. And I think some people have the misconception, well, you know, if my brows last that long, then I'm not making, you know, refresh fees. But
no, that's when you're getting word of mouth and people are coming to you because they're like, oh my God, her shit lasts.
Exactly, Michon. Exactly. Exactly.
Why waste my money?
Exactly. The minute a client finds out yours is only lasting 10 months to a year, but the girl down the road, oh my God, her work is just as beautiful and it's lasting 2 or 3 years, she's leaving you. She's switching and she's leaving you.
Ari just had a phone call from someone that went to a different artist, and she was my client, went to a different artist, fell out in 6 months, and now she's coming back with the tails between her legs.
Yeah, well, it happens all the time here, all the time. I mean, it does. You know, they end up with half eyebrow because, you know, they're not putting the ombre brow in deep enough or saturated enough. They're coming in with these half eyebrows or things falling out, you know, in 10 months or 6 months or a year, or pink brows, you know. And there's a little technique that you can do to test whether it's really pigment or not. And that's when your client comes in and if it looks pink, stretch, you know, put a thumb on
each side of
that brow and stretch. And does that pink, red or orange, go away?
Disappears.
Does it disappear? And if it does, that is not pigment, my friend. That is wounded, pink, tender, scar tissued skin. Mm-hmm. And the reason you're seeing it is because you didn't go deep enough, or you didn't saturate enough, or both.
And you can even do that technique and see how your saturation is too. Yes,
absolutely. While you're working on an eyebrow. Right. But I think Instagram has been, you know, maybe not so helpful.
That's rainbows and lollipops.
That's rainbows. Yeah, I call it like La La Land.
So it's glossed over.
It's glossed over, and people only post the pretty shit, us included, right? Me included. If I have a pair of brows and they don't heal good, I'm not posting them.
Yeah.
Right? But Girlz Ink, we post a lot of.
But I'll post some shit.
I was gonna say, Michon definitely posts a lot of bruised and bloody people, and she's like, "This is real life.
This is real life." Yeah.
But it's pretty, okay?
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, and you shadow Michon, and you do one-on-one trainings, and you shadow. And Stephanie, you're probably going to be offering that next year, I would imagine.
I hope so.
Yes, and that's what I would encourage these young techs. If some of the stuff that we've talked about today and have said kind of hit home with you, don't be upset. Don't be mad at us. Don't get mad. We're telling the truth. And I wanted to do this podcast. We were going to do a podcast today on eyeliner, but we'll do that next week. But I just. It just bothers me. It really, really bothers me that no one's telling the truth with a megaphone. These young generation of techs are not being told the truth. They're not. And every time one of them hears me speak or you speak, and it happens all the time, we get these private messages, oh my God, thank you so much. I needed to hear that. That makes sense. But as a whole, they're not getting the message. Nobody's telling them, or some of them are getting the message and they just don't want to listen. They're too afraid. They're afraid of scar tissuing. They're causing scar tissue. They're afraid of getting gray. They're afraid of going to their fear. They're tattooing eyebrows from a fear-based place, not from a place of confidence and proper technique. And that fear is always going to keep you from reaching your goals, whether it's, you know, PMU technique, or it's going to be, you know, financial, or things you want to accomplish, you know, for yourself.
Speaking in front of people.
Speaking in front of people, dreams. Fear is always what blocks you from success and moving forward. It's a roadblock, you know, and I'm seeing that a lot right now. And, you know, and I feel bad for the young tech that is just not, that's being told that, paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to be taught those techniques, only to get out into the real world and find those techniques were, you know, not proper techniques, and they don't work.
Well, also,
Cash grab.
It's a cash grab. Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people that are just learning permanent makeup and then teaching,
Yes.
but then they're not teaching like the real fundamentals. Like
They're not teaching fundamentals.
You're not teaching them what they really need to know.
No.
And then there's just a bunch of people just scratching the surface, but they're doing it for the money.
There's a lot of, like,
There's no passion. It's
Yeah,
all-
there's no
there's-
passion. It's all about money, and they don't want to deal with a model maybe healing with a gray brow, or, you know, they want to eliminate that risk. And so they're teaching all these newbies, tattoo shallow, no blood, don't saturate, you know, because then it's easy for the trainer. I mean, when you're a hardcore trainer and you're teaching these students, I mean, look at me and Amber, look at me and you. We do these classes, and we got their needle extended out. We're making them go proper depth.
They always get really scared when
They
I
get
do
really
that.
super scared. And what do we hear all the time? Oh my God, that's not what I was taught. I was taught it shouldn't get swollen. I was taught this, I was taught that.
I was taught it shouldn't scab.
It shouldn't scab. I know, what the fuck is that?
I'm sorry, anybody that's watching this. I'm a very oily person, and when I get my eyebrows done, I have the thickest, gnarliest scabs. And I know not everybody
You do.
has scabs
And
like that.
I did not expect you to bleed like that when I first did your brows.
Like some people have like a light flaking, and then some people like me have heavy, gross scabs, and it's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Exactly.
Scabs are normal.
Exactly. And a lot of people come to our classes because they're just fucking tired of their clients healing with no results, because their clients get pissed off at them. Their clients want their money back. And look, it's a small world now. So you're all you techs out there that are not getting good healed results and have to do it 3 or 4 times, they're going to come across my Instagram page. They're going to come across Amber's, yours Michon, yours Stephanie, yours Amy's. They're going to come across all these Instagram pages and Facebook pages where, what? What?
Yeah, when I get those people that are
Yeah.
hating on my powder brows because they're so saturated.
Yeah.
Well,
You
guess
mean I
what?
don't
They
have to
stay
do
in.
3 or 4 touch-ups? You mean brows can last 2 or 3 years? I mean, and that's what's happening. That's how a lot of people end up finding us, because it's not lasting, or they have to do 3 or 4 touch-ups for Pete's sake. And you're going to kill their skin. You're going to destroy their skin. So, yeah.
And I have something to add. Like when I first started here, like a year and a half ago, I wasn't real big on Instagram or knew anything about permanent makeup. So I started like looking up all kinds of things, seeing all kinds of things. You guys would mention other artists, so I'd look into them. And now all of a sudden the term micro shading is everywhere. Everybody
Yeah.
always says it. And I came in one day, I was like, what's micro shading? And they're like, I don't know. Like
Tattooing.
It's a tattoo, but
I'm
yeah.
a micro shading,
I'm a micro shader.
mixologist, color performer.
Yeah.
I'm a master.
But that's when I realized, oh, it's just all these girls that are doing single needle, and it's micro shading. But I think it's like everyone's been obsessed with like the pixels in the skin and like seeing them in photos that have been like edited or enhanced or something. But when they heal, they don't always heal like that, or even if they heal in at all, the brow's not even
No, mostly mostly pixels don't heal in.
Pixels?
No.
Yeah, when you see me have pixels,
Right.
that's right immediately after.
Right.
They don't heal with that.
yeah.
At all.
And I think
so.
that's
Why do
some-
people work so hard then, Amy? I
Yeah.
mean, right?
It's-
Do you want to work
it's
that
like-
hard for
no.
pixels and then they don't even heal in the freaking skin?
But
Me
it's like a
neither.
misconception on Instagram when people come in and they tell me, or I hear them tell Michon, oh, I want this. I'm like, well,
That's why
That's not
I
how
think
they're gonna heal it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's because they're on Instagram and they're looking at these fresh brows
Mm-hmm.
that look flawless, And yeah, I admit they're beautiful, but that is not reality.
Yep.
You're not going to see that healed in 6 weeks, and it's not going to look good.
Well, and it's not only edited, but they're putting makeup around
The redness.
the redness
Yeah.
to give you
This illusion that you
illusion
don't
that,
get
yeah.
pink, you don't get red, you don't get swollen. A lot of the pictures are super edited. Well, when we post our work, we've never edited pictures here. We get a lot of comments. I'm so glad you guys don't edit your pictures. Well, finally someone that doesn't edit their pictures. But it's la la land. It's not real. And I think young artists look at that as their inspiration and how their work should be looking healed. And it's an
That's
illusion.
not reality.
It's not reality at all. And that's what breaks my heart for these young artists, is that's what they're trying to achieve. I had Clarissa on here a few weeks ago, and she was the first one, I think, that really rocked that fucking pixel brow.
Yeah.
She's so good. You learned a lot from her. She came in and did some classes here, and I'm like, Michon, you want to be her
I'm
assistant?
going to put my genius with your genius and
Yeah,
put it together.
yeah. It was perfect. She needed some help, and I thought you would pick up some really great nuggets from her because she's awesome brow tattooer, and she was obsessed with pixels, and for 3-4 years. And I just had her on here, and she was super transparent and talked really honestly and openly about the pixels. That 95% of the time, if not more, Teryn, those pixels do not heal in the skin.
I think you can see the difference of a brow done with a single needle versus a shader.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not pixels. It's just, I feel like it looks a little bit different, but
Yeah, it
you're
looks
not
more.
seeing
It looks more powder, and there's nothing wrong with doing
Right.
pixels. Absolutely nothing wrong with
Right.
doing pixels. We do pixels in here.
Some of
I've
my
done
faves.
a couple pixels. Yeah, I'm not like a big pixel girl, but pixels are beautiful. There's a place for pixels. There's a place for the single needle. All those tools are valuable, and create different effects and different results. My whole thing is that's all that's being taught. That's all that's being seen. That's all that's being showcased. That's what's being, and it's not real.
Yeah, they don't have a variety of knowledge about all of the needles.
Right.
Right.
They're not versatile. They don't have, exactly right. You hit it on the head, Michon. They don't have a variety of knowledge of all the different needles, and they're not equipped to work on challenging skin types with efficiency.
Well, and they've been working with such small needles for so long, they're afraid of bigger needles.
They're afraid of bigger needles, right? Right. And if you're working on skin for 2 or 3 hours with the same needle, you need to change your needle out, especially if you're using a single. Imagine how and they're doing 0.18s, 0.20s, single needle, long tapers. Imagine how fragile and flimsy the tip of that needle is. So after 30 minutes, 40 minutes of tattooing with that needle, they really should be changing that out, because now the tip of that needle is dull, and now you're causing even more skin trauma. In body tattooing, we change our needles out rather consistently. We're very conscious of that, of the tips of our needles dulling, but we do longer sessions in body tattooing. So that was one thing my mentor was always honest about, changing out your needles to keep the tip of your needle sharp. But that's not really taught in PMU. So you'll see an artist tattoo the same eyebrow with a single needle for 3 hours, for Pete's sake, and never change out that needle. So
I think it's important to note too that you need to be comfortable when telling a client that their expectations aren't realistic. Like, I remember you had a client probably a few months ago who came in with pictures of another artist's work, and the person's work is beautiful, but you've never seen healed photos.
They wanted the Instagram brow.
Right, and that's literally what she said. She wanted an Instagram brow. But Michon had to explain, you're seeing immediately after. It will never look like that when it's healed. And the girl ended up leaving, but Michon wasn't going to take her money when she wasn't going to be
Right.
happy in the end anyway.
right, yeah, it's so true. And I think you learn that as you go dealing with clients, because that's another whole topic
Yeah.
and podcast. Learning to speak up and controlling your room, and and having
I've
the
never
ball.
had a problem with that.
You've never had a problem with it. Having, the balls to tell your clients, no, microblading is not going to look good on you. We can't do that on you. You do not have the right skin type. You're going to be disappointed. Or no, you can't do single needle or pixels. You don't want to tell the client, yeah, your pores are too big and you're oily. I think but there's ways, I use the word textured.
Right.
What you're asking for, is a better technique for skin that is less textured.
I'm just a little bit more blunt.
I know you are. I know you are. But
Like, Amy had a client or a model, and she was like, well, this one's supposed to be further in. I was like, why? She's like, well, look at my nose. I'm like, well, it's crooked. Why are you basing everything on your nose? We can't base that on your nose.
You are an asshole.
But then she looked in the mirror. She's like, oh, shit. My nose is crooked. I was like, I don't know who didn't tell you, but, you're welcome.
Yeah, I know.
I have to say, when Michon said that, I was like, I can't believe you said that to that girl. And she was like, well, Amy, her nose is crooked. She needs to understand. I'm like, yeah, but, and she's like, you need to learn to say stuff like that. So
No, but
we're working on that.
Yeah, no, but it is kind of true. Well,
I'm not gonna lie to him.
you come from the massage world, so your world is to please and soothe and make people feel good and relax.
Kiss ass.
And kiss ass.
So glad I don't have to do
did that
that
too.
here.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it
and
again.
Here, we can't, same thing, But Michon,
I'm a different breed.
yeah, but your clients love you. Anybody that knows you, I know you come on here all the time and announce you're an asshole. People gonna start thinking you're an asshole.
I'm super nice. I'm
You
really
are.
nice.
I think me and Stephanie probably have the same thing to say. I thought Michon was totally different, and then you get to meet her, and she's actually a really sweet, good person. She just has like a little bit of a tough exterior, but she really is tough and a badass too. But just don't piss her off.
Yeah, no.
I just don't get on my bad side. We're all gravy.
When I first started here, I was warned that she was the mean one, and she was probably going to be the first person to hurt my feelings. And
Yeah.
I was like, you're literally not mean. I don't get it.
And you all thought it would be me. I know.
I'm just really, really honest.
You are. We all need that friend.
Yeah. Well, I am too. When I'm in there with the girls and
Oh,
their
yeah.
procedures, I'm really super honest too. I don't have a filter because I'm trying to get you over challenges and get you from A to B. That's my job. That's why you picked Girlz Ink. That's why you picked here. That's why you're here. And I want to get you there as fast as possible so you're successful, you're making money, you can buy a home. I mean, those are the things that fill my mind. And yeah, so there's a lot. But with clients, I don't know. I'm not quite, I'm a little more gentle until they rub me the wrong way. Then I can be a little.
I think I'm more abrupt up front in the beginning, so that way they know.
That sets the pace.
I'm in charge. I'm in charge, not you, me.
All PMURs should be in charge because we know what's best. We're not going to put something on your face that's going to look like shit or something that's you're going to be a waste of money. And PMU is not cheap. And some of these clients have had to save their money for a few months. They come in, they're so excited. Some of them maybe can't even really afford it and shouldn't be spending that money. And they're really relying on us to do what's right by them. And too many times we see microbladed brows or historic brows on skin that should have been a powder brow. Are you kidding me? But
With not a single needle.
yeah. All right. So to our listeners, you want to come in, shadow Michon. I promise
I'll be super nice.
she'll
She's
be
not
nice.
mean.
She's not mean.
I'm just honest. If you have something in your teeth, I'll let you know.
And she'll get you over the hump. She will get you over the hump. But you can call our studio or email us or reach out to Michon. And you do shadowing and you do one-on-one live models, whatever. You have a few different options.
Yeah.
But if
I customize your class.
and
if
I know
need
you
it.
like training. You're like me. I like getting a student that is like almost there, and they've got this passion, and they're just dying to get over this hump, and then they come in here with either me or you, and it's just a few things that we need to adjust them on, and then they get over that hump, and
Yeah, the last
they start
model, I'm
doing
like,
great
I
work.
don't even really need to watch you now.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
yeah. Well, we're hardcore trainers, and yeah, that's what we're really good at. So, all right. Any last little input?
Take
Last little-
the critiquing sometimes you need critiquing it. You're going to learn from it.
Constructive criticism is
Yeah.
very helpful.
It is.
I just take responsibility. That's a huge thing I think a lot of people have a problem with, but it's only going to make you better.
Yeah,
So,
and be
to
okay
open
to eat a big old piece of humble pie.
That's right.
Right?
I've done it many, many times.
You're probably going to gain weight eating humble pie, right?
Yeah, and you,
Oh my God.
you can always message us privately and not on the boards and ask us a question if you need to.
No question.
I have-
a stupid question.
I have no problem answering that.
Yeah, no, I always say that's one of my sayings too, Savvy. No question is a stupid question. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask, right?
Closed mouth don't get fed.
And I agree. If you can always private message, Girlz Ink, Michon, each one of us, even Stephanie and Amy. You guys are well on your way, and you guys are doing fantastic. And I think you have a lot to give and to other young artists. I think Stephanie and Amy. I think you guys are inspiration. I mean,
Thank you.
you are. You guys are to young artists, because there's a lot of artists that you were there just not so long ago. Sometimes for me and Michon, we were there.
Right.
We won't say how many years ago for me, but
It's not that long ago.
yeah, but you guys weren't there that long ago, and you might be more relatable. It's fresher for you two. It's really fresher for you two.
Oh, I
and
remember.
Yeah. But so reach out, man. So what I would say is, I always try to end with something positive too. Is classic never dies. That's why I love the classic brow.
I do like that.
Yeah. Classic never dies. What you stand for is way more important than what you sell. And authenticity sells itself.
That's right.
Yes. And there's a lack of it right now in the world. And people are craving it, and they smell fake a mile away. So
You're welcome.
you're welcome. All right. Thank you guys.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Okay, so that was an interesting topic today, inspired by just this last couple weeks. Just seems we've gotten a ton of emails, phone calls, and DMs on some students out there not having such a great experience with trainers or the actual training class with what they're being taught and the struggle that they're in now. So, and we pointed out some of the downsides, some of the negative things. But I never want to leave on a down note. So with that said, I want to give a shout out to all the amazing trainers out there, all the trainers out there that work super hard for their students, care about their students, that are hardcore. And there's a ton of you all over the world, and I know how hard you work. And I want to give you a shout out. I really believe there's way more good trainers and amazing classes than not so good trainers and not such great classes. I think just the not so great tends to get more attention, right? It creates more noise, just like, with news, like in the regular world. The negative creates more noise, and we seem to pay attention to it more, rather than amazing people, inspiring news, awesome news. So a big, huge shout out to all the amazing trainers that are working super hard on behalf of their students and on behalf of this industry. I fucking salute you. With that, I'm going to leave you with stay in the pursuit of happiness. We will see you next time on a Tatter-a-fact.